Okay, so right, it was a ton of pressure, but nothing different from every day in my life. So a ton of pressure, but my dad and my mom, I guess, were preparing me for life early. When other kids, when I was 14, 15, 16 years old, and other kids had banquets, and were excited, are they going to get, most valuable player or this and that, I was actually, my mom was accepting and allowing people to have me come and speak at other banquets, which is really odd, right? But, I mean,
Yeah.
my mom, but so yes, but no. Nothing was ever different. I mean, my family was always like, or especially my mom, you can, whatever you dream, you can be, and whatever you believe you can achieve and all that. So, I mean, I had my first firework business at 14 years old. I was on the road on the summers when I was in a boarding camp, alongside with my brother or sister, or maybe by myself, my dad. And we might be in a car somewhere, or we might be in a plane, or one of the, him personally flying, or me driving because he's beat up and tired, and seeing the business and starting from, being security or build, putting up rings, selling T-shirts, to doing lights, to doing music, to doing whatever. That whole thing was happening at such a young age, that even though when I got to WCW and started, was the pressure enormous, my optics were different. My optics were, man, it really sucks that these guys want to be pissed off about me being from a line of pro wrestlers, but they just don't get it. They're mad because it's just the thing to be. It's pissed off right now because they want to think it's a silver spoon, or there's some corner cut or some edge cut. And then even more when the kayfabe sheets were all up in arms about it, then some of the smart marks and their remarks. I felt like bad for them. Was it rough on the road, especially when you got around guys that wanted to act like your friend? And they were your friend, but they were mad about the situation, or they were afraid, would they catch some shade from being my friend? Should they be on the bandwagon of, who's this and why is he here, and it's just his dad and that's the only reason why he's here type, shit? That was there too. And I felt bad for the situation, meaning, that situation was going on. For me, it was just another day. And I tried my hardest, which really wasn't that tough, but I tried very hard not to take it personal. Because, to be honest, when I came out and I wrestled, for people to sit there and say I hadn't paid my dues, when I had put up more rings than any of those guys will ever put up. I've traveled more time on the road than they ever would have. I have done more things for the sport as far as promotion and marketing. It is what paid for every meal I ever had since I've been in existence. And people don't get it, but kayfabe ran in my family forever. I remember the first time I kind of wanted to just ask my mom, hey, Mom, is this fake? When I was like 14, scared to death that she might tell my dad that I'm asking. Because if my dad figured out I was asking, it would have been disrespectful to him, and he would have beat my ass. So just even asking, hey, if you figure it out, shut up, but don't ask. There was a golden rule. If any of your friends ask if it's fake, pound them into unconsciousness. Maybe when they get up later on, they'll figure out not to ask. So, when you're going through that in your life, and then you go to college, which I didn't have to do. I could have gone straight into wrestling like everyone else of my dad's friends. the Von Erichs, and you know, there's so many people. I mean, you can go down. You know, I don't think Barry Windham went to college. I don't think Dusty Rhodes went to college. I don't think, you know, so when you start going through all the generations of wrestling families, most of these kids by 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, they're refereeing, wrestling under a mask, doing whatever. What dues did they pay more than what someone else paid? I mean, real dues is, to me, and those are real dues, but I'm saying there's different ways to pay your dues to what you're doing. And one of them is keeping a promise that you would get your degree prior to entering wrestling. Because, see, my dad, he played for the University of Oklahoma. Then he went to the NFL, and then he pro wrestled. But my dad didn't graduate from college. My mom didn't graduate from college. My older brother didn't graduate from college. I had made an agreement with my father and mother, which was very tough because my mom, you know, just said, look, Bill, don't mess with the kids until they go to college and graduate, because neither one of us have that diploma. Now, at that time, when my mom's making those things, by that time, we're a successful family. But it meant that much to her, and we made that. The only one that was different was Joel, who went to college, but when he came out of college and he hadn't graduated, he was just so damn intelligent and so smart that he was bored of college. And about that time, my dad was seeing some trends, and my brother kept on, you know, kind of pulling on these heartstrings, and then started refereeing. But Joel did announcing. But his biggest thing was also all the video production, in which I give him so much credit for. A lot of the vignettes today and music videos that were in pro wrestling, a lot of those came through Mid-South, based on the fact that, you know, my brother loved music and MTV and all that other stuff, and so that kind of, you know, that paralleled. But getting back onto your question is that for the fans, and you know, because your fans, it wasn't a problem. It was your smart marks, and it was your jealous wrestlers, or even some of your great wrestlers that are on the road and they're tired, you know, and they're beat up and they're tired. And because you also got to remember, the first few years in which I was pro wrestling, my dad was also the president of WCW. So that didn't make it easy, even though the way that it was supposed to work was my dad never hired me. My dad never brought me in. I was sitting there debating on pro football, this, that, and the other, and I had called to see if I could go to work out with some of the, you know, to get in the ring because of the bet I had with my mom, my dad, now that I've graduated college. And I did. And it just so happened that the gym that I wanted to go to, I found out was Jody Hamilton's gym, which was not really a WCW gym. It was where WCW would send some of their really green guys to work out, and it was in Jonesboro, Georgia, in a warehouse that I don't think had any freaking air conditioning. And I went down there and worked out for it was about 22 or 23 days. I was in between classes. I only had 3 more classes to get my master's because I graduated, you know, while playing football. My football season had just ended, and I had 3 more, like I said, classes to get my master's degree. And went down there for about 22, 23 days, but I wanted full-fledged, like, to feel what it was like to go through training. And so I was training. Sergeant Buddy Parker, he met me every day. And we met early, we trained late, then we go hit the weights. So I'd probably meet him, you know, 8 a.m. We'd probably train until like 5, 6, then go grab something to eat, change. Then I'd meet him at the gym. We'd probably work out in the gym 8 to 10 on weights, go back home, go to sleep, and do it all again. And I was actually on my way home back to Louisville, and Dusty Rhodes said, "Hey, would you like to wrestle in front of a crowd?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. When I get done, graduate college, and all this other stuff, man, a few months from now, I hope to come back out and try out." And basically, it was like, no, on your way back, you're going to Louisville, right? Yeah. There's a little town called Franklin, Tennessee. I want to see how you do. And I was like, dude, there's no way I can go in front of people. I've only been in the ring 23 days. Now, a lot of people think that being a wrestler's kid or whatever, that you know every move, the psychology, you don't. You don't. I mean, I didn't. I wasn't in the ring before. I was never in the ring. Was I an athlete? Was I a successful amateur wrestler? Yes. Football player? Yes. Basketball player? Yes. Pretty good at track? Yeah. Did I have the athletic part? Yes. But that's completely different than getting in and putting everything together. Yes, you've seen it, but calling it, knowing what's going on, and the psychology and the timing is completely different. So, I mean, when it came to that, I was still very lost. And again, if you remember 23 days at school, what are you going to learn in 23 days? Most guys are still learning how to tie up. I know I was. But I went and tried, had a match, and it was absolutely crazy. I remember going, what am I going to wear? And Dusty's like, don't you got some of your football stuff? I said, yeah. He goes, well, cut off your football pants. I said, okay. So I cut off my football pants. I can't remember what shoes I wore. I put some eye glare, like football, under my eye thing, I believe. And I wore out my Fiesta Bowl. We just won 2 years before we beat Alabama, the Fiesta Bowl championship, and wore it out. And I'd already gained like 20 pounds since the season. And so I remember showing up at the event, went to walk in the dressing room. Rick Steiner goes, oh, no, you don't. You don't deserve to be here, rookie. And he made me dress in the concession stand. So if you can imagine, small town, all the people there getting popcorn, I'm back there with some ladies that are thinking, what the hell are you doing, trying to hold a towel around me as I'm trying to get dressed in the frickin' concession stand, and come out and squeeze my shirt on to get in the ring. And there's Nick Hamilton. Sarge is there. The place is packed. Small town. My adrenaline is through the roof. I sprayed some of this not icy, but this hot stuff that all the wrestlers use that bring the vascularity and kind of make you a bit more tan, but it's almost like nice and for the skin. Well, it had reacted. I was hot as hell, and there I go to pull off my jersey, and I get stuck in it. Like, literally, my jersey was, like, on my head. I'm trying to pull it off. Nick had to come. The ref had to come and pull my jersey off of me. The fans didn't know whether to laugh, cheer, faint, and I'm sitting there going, what? Why? What did I do? What am I doing? And ended up having, like, a 10, 12-minute match. So excited. They went over that. I remember jumping out of the ring, not even gathering that the match is over and all that's going on. Nick's raising my hand. People are going crazy, and I'm backing down, going down the heels side. And one of the fans go, "Great match, good win. You're going to the bad guy side." I'm thinking, "Oh yeah, dumbass," So I went the other way and went to the good guy side. I went back to the concession stand. Sat back there with the popcorn. No one said anything to me. I got in my car right before I left. Grizzly said, "Hey, Dusty wants to talk to you." Got on the telephone. Said, "Dusty, thank you so much. It was fantastic, great, man. That was a trip. Can't believe I did it, man. Just gave me a taste of what I hope to do one day." He's like, on the way, Franklin. On the way is Chattanooga, or it was Chattanooga or Knoxville. I can't remember what happened next. I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Why don't you wrestle there tomorrow night?" I said, "Bro." He goes, "Well, do you have to be at school?" I said, "No, not for a few days." And he's like, he goes, "Well, why don't you do it?" I said, "Dusty, man, they made me dress in this freaking concession stand." And he's like, "What? They made you dress in the concession stand? I can't believe they let you in the building to get dressed." So he's busting my ass. and I'm like, and he goes, "Come on, you'll wrestle Sarge, opening match. Just try it, kid." And I'm like, "All right, I'll try it." And so I did it. And, this time I didn't wear my jersey because I didn't want to get stuck on my head. I didn't wear the hot stuff that time. Went out there. I remembered more of the match, meaning not that we talked about it, meaning I actually remembered it because things slowed down a little bit for me. But it was still kind of crazy, man. Just, your heart and your mind and everything was going on. And I left, got out of the ring, got ready, watched some of the matches, had a great time, was going to sneak out. And Grizzly pulled me aside. He goes, "Well, son, you really messed up." And Grizzly, like, it was like a relative to me. You know, I've known him my whole life. It's like this weekend when I saw Oklahoma play, and there's Jim Ross. I mean, I've basically known Jim Ross as my uncle. You know, I mean, just my whole life I've known him, and or he was always at the office or always at our house. And I'm like, yeah, Grizz, what did I mess up, sir? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. He goes, well, you know, I had to report to Dusty what went on tonight. I said, sir, if I did anything wrong, I'm so sorry. He goes, no. He goes, Dusty needs you to report back to Atlanta tomorrow because your third match is going to be on WCW Saturday night live. And I'm like, hold on, man, I'm going to finish my school. I need to actually like train. You know, I'm like, all these guys train for like 6 months, a year and a half. I've had 23 days. No, you don't want to argue with Dusty, do you? And that's when it just became real. That's when I was like going crazy. So it was fast. And that's why also I take with a grain of salt when, you know, because being an athlete, you know, ever since I was a kid, I watched, you know, as soon as there was cameras to videotape things, my dad was videotaping my amateur wrestling and my basketball, my football, my track, and you'd go back and you'd watch it and you'd break it down. And in high school, I had my coach breaking it down and then my dad breaking it down. And as a matter of fact, in high school, until my senior year, I couldn't go out with any of my friends until we came back and watched film. Well, I also had a 1 o'clock curfew. Well, by the time we were done with film at 2 or 3 in the morning on Saturday mornings, I never got to go out on Friday nights during football season because we were breaking down film. And so it stayed with me that, you know, it stayed with me. So to be under the microscope and always trying to change and always trying to be better, you know, it just hit me at that time. Oh my gosh, I'm going head first into pro wrestling. And so I would then watch all my matches. And at first I was like killing myself, but I had to continue to remember, okay, Erik, you know, it's 23 days. Okay, that match was your first match after 23 days. This was your second. This is your fourth. Or Erik, this is your fourth month in the business. This is only your 70th match, right? You know, and you just had to keep on doing it. Matter of fact, later on, I don't know if Dallas will say the same thing, but a lot of the guys would look at me weird because I would a lot of times bring the camera on the road, and I would film my matches. And the funniest thing about it is, you know, a lot of times I would, a lot of new guys would make fun of me, like, well, what are you doing that for? You know, I'm like, dude, I got to watch to see what I'm doing wrong. And, you know, and you can imagine all the jokes. You know, well, pretty much from your entrance to your exit was fucked up. Other than that, it was cool, you know, and all that stuff. And it wasn't very hard, especially with all the heat I had. It wasn't very hard to go up to a very seasoned vet and say, hey, do you mind, you know, tonight before you hit, you know, go out or whatever, you know, I got some beer in my room. Would you come and watch and critique my matches? Well, there at the beginning, a lot of the towns, guys would look forward to it because A, it's free beer, and B, they got to rip the shit out of me, and C, you know, if they had, you know, the heat I had going on for who my father was, it would be stand-up comedy shows sometimes. But little did they know, the whole time they were drinking the beer and ripping my butt, I was learning. And it was the greatest thing in the world. And what took the heat off me was about the same time that I was breaking in, there was another guy named Diamond Dallas Page that was breaking in. And he started bringing his camera to all the matches and videotaping all of his matches and going back and watching all of his matches. And that's really how me and Dallas got to know each other and became such damn good friends, because if we weren't on the road, we were at the power plant or, you know, at the, you know, working out in the ring. You know, when I first started at WCW, guys had guaranteed contracts. And so I had something different. I had a much lesser guarantee with a bonus structure. And I can't remember the total bonus structure, but I got X number of dollars for every match I wrestled over 21 matches or 23 matches in a month. And so when guys would get their booking sheets, most of the guys would go, all right, 14 days. Yes, 18 days. You know, the guys you're starting with. You know, now a lot of your stars, the Stings and the Lexes and the Steiners, of course, those guys are going to be on almost every show because they're the ones that drew the money. But me and a lot of the others, I could name a list. You get your book sheets, you count it. But me, every time I opened up, because you would get them for the month, I would count. And, buddy, when I saw that I hit past that 21 or 23, I was like, yes, fudging A, man. I got that many more times to get better. I make more money this month. And man, when they would run St. Paul and Minneapolis on the same day, or Oklahoma City and Tulsa on the same day, or, do a double shot, I was in flipping heaven, until you got about 3 or 4 years in and you're like, oh, my God. I think my first year in wrestling, I wrestled like 302 matches, something like that.
Wow.
And yeah, and so doing time, doing a lot of time, and that's what it took to try to be as good. So you go back to asking me, did it suck, and did I get heat? Yes, I did. I would never do it. I would never do it a different way as far as wrestling is concerned. I could never be more proud of who I am, who my father was, who my family is. I don't take it personal, all the stuff that was going on at the time, because I don't necessarily expect everyone else to understand. But I would have done it just the exact same way. I would have tried my hardest to be the best I could be. No matter what, because that's the way I was raised in every sport, every part of my life, all the time, and it wasn't going to change, especially for wrestling, in which I felt so blessed and so lucky to be a part of, and going back to what I said, because it paid for it provided everything for me and my family since the day I was born. So it's a different perspective.